Whether you're new to trading or just simply new to the platform TradingView, I'm going to give you a quick run through guide on how to set up your charts for success and ultimately just make it a lot easier on you when you're looking at your daily analysis. Let's get right to it. Go over to TradingView. You're going to end up with a setup pretty similar to this, right? You're going to have the scale right here. You're going to have basic colors and all this stuff. One thing that I do like to do immediately right off the bat is I do like to reduce a lot of the things that I see on the chart. Visual clutter is a big thing that I like to get rid of. So I'll take off grid lines. I'll remove those right off the bat. Also adjust the scales right here, the margins. If we could just start with 15% on each side, you'll notice that it actually doesn't stretch as much to the edges. When it's 8%, 5%, it gets a little too close. So if you go with 15, it keeps your charts more centered. And then the same thing with the padding on the right. If you go 50, for example, you'll be more in the middle. So what we'll do is go ahead and just make this a little more simple. Put this at 10, and this is pretty much good to go. What I do also like to do is I like to remove a lot of these buttons. So I'll look at the status line and I will I'll go to the trading, take out the buy and sell. So that goes away. So you no longer have that up here. I will also look to potentially narrow some of that stuff down to what I need. Maybe I just do just the ticker and we could go from there. So we're off to a strong start. This is going to help you have less visual clutter. Whether you use the light mode or dark mode, that's personal preference. You will want to definitely go in and create some sort of grid. TradingView has a Easter sale right now at the moment of this video, so take advantage of that. That's what I do every year. I buy it either during Black Friday or now they do Easter as well. So what I like to do is I'll set up some sort of grid using whatever indicator or whatever ticker I want. And then from there, I'll go ahead and link them, right? So this one might be, we'll link Solana, or we could even let's just do ES, make it nice and simple. So we have ES right here. Go ahead and narrow down the levels. Let's see, what's this? Alerts, boom. So you can see that it's getting cleaner, but it's not super clean. I do like to remove some of this stuff, maybe the bar change values. Maybe I'll remove even these numbers up here, the chart values. So you can decide what information is necessary for you. So I can look at it. Also, when you create one grid or one section of the grid, if you do want to duplicate that, you can take that same square and then apply that same style to the rest of the charts. So you can see here, we could even just do a 15-minute, a 5, maybe a 60-minute, and a daily chart. This might be something that you use to trade. Maybe use the 1 minute and then the 5 minute or something. But this is a pretty good mobile setup. You could have 4 charts. I would use something like this pretty often. I think it's super essential to be able to see a good variety of the market that you want to be looking at. But what we could do is just by clicking Option Enter, or even just going here, this little button down here, we'll zoom in on one of these charts and I'll show you some of the things that I like to do as well. You're going to go ahead and hit the slash and you'll be able to add indicators. So if you want to add your VWAP, you can add your VWAP. And one thing you want to do is definitely remove some of this noise. So you can take off all these bands, the band fill. You can also adjust the color of the line, the opacity, which is huge. If you're on TradingView, if you're on Thinkorswim or something of that nature, you might not be used to all these different functionality features that we have on TradingView, but you could take advantage of it. Make them look like something you want to look at every day. I don't know how else to put it. Make them look nice, make it easy for you to read. I like to have my indicators pretty light on the chart. I don't like them to be overbearing. If you're trading with something like volume profile, you could do something visible. It's called visible range volume profile. So you want to go ahead and indicate that one, choose that, and you'll adjust the settings here. I'll show you some of the settings that I like to do. If you're looking at the 60-minute chart, one thing I also like to do as well is if you go to Canvas, let's see, electronic trading hours, I like to make that 0%, get rid of this color. So it's just one color in the background. Make these candles whatever color you want. I'll share some of my colors here. I do like to use a blue like this. And this blue is right here. There's the code. Go ahead, save that if you want. And then for reds, we can even just do this maroon. We'll give you a nice simple layout. And here, and this maroon is right, just that, simple. So these will be our charts for now. make it nice and neat. We can even change that in the future. But what we'll do with the volume profile, I'll show you how to set this one up as well. I like to make this thing narrower, maybe 30% of my chart. I will adjust it to where it's on the left side. I'll have the value area high, value area low, point of control. I try to make everything very easy to see. Based on the way it calculates, I'll use number of rows most of the time, and then I'll set that to something such as 150. If you're looking at a bigger time frame where there's a wider distance, you might want to change that to change the number of rows, or even change it to ticks per row and then just increase it a ton. I use ticks per row usually on the lower time frames. So that might be like the 1 minute or 30 second or something. And row size, yeah, obviously we just went over. Value, area, volume, leave that alone. Instead of up, down, I just do total. Keep it simple. So that's what my volume profile will look like. These are what my charts will look like. I have it to where it's evenly spaced on each side. There's not too much crowding on either side. And from there, some of the other indicators I like to use, I'll share all of them with you. So go ahead and take note of these. Average true range, you're going to go ahead and star this. Daily SMAs, you're going to go ahead and star these. You can star any number of these. Look at ones from 2 degrees. These are good indicators. Maybe Lux Algo. Mind you, I don't use all these, but these are a lot of just real key indicators that you could add to your trading. I like using the ICT everything because it gives me opening price lines. I'll also use, as we continue, I'll show you a lot of the ones that I use. The live economic indicator, that's a great one as well. The calendar, pull this up. You'll see, where are we at? There you go. So this is a good one to have. Filter this for the types of news you want to see. Mostly high impact. You don't want to filter it to be too low impact. So you'll filter a lot of these based on what time frame you want to see them on. So I can take off the volume profile, take off volume. VWAP, obviously you don't need on the daily, but I like to have daily SMAs because these show me, obviously, no matter the time frame, it shows me the daily moving average. So these are really good for the big time frame levels. As you can see, once we start to break above this moving average, then we can say we're in a short-term bullish trend. So regardless of the system that you use, TradingView has a lot of variety when it comes to indicators. Session volume profile is another one I really enjoy using. So if you're looking at this, I really like using this one on an hourly chart. And you'll see right here. Yeah, there's your session volume profile. I'll change these settings just a little bit so it's not as clunky. So one thing I'll do is I'll oftentimes get rid of the background. I'll make it just nice and clear so you can see just the volume profile. Any indicators you do not want, you can just hide. You can even hide the name of the index you're looking at and just look at it up here. My whole goal is to always reduce clutter. I like to make things orderly. Another thing I like to do personally is I like to put the scale on the left side. That way it's just a nice open piece of paper that I'm looking at. There's a number of good indicators that you can include on your charts. Another one that I like to use is going to be called average true range. This is something that will indicate to you what the average volatility is looking like on the daily or whatever time frame you're looking at. So what I'll do here is when you look at the daily chart, you can see that the average daily volatility or the average daily range has increased substantially. So this tells me that positioning with smaller size once we're in this kind of elevated area is what I want to be doing. Before, my position sizing could be a lot bigger because the ranges are a lot smaller and my risk structure will be a lot smaller compared to now. So these are a few indicators I like to use. One thing that you'll also be able to do is set up different watch lists. So you go in here and you could create an entirely new watch list. You go over here and you go, let's see, where are we at? Create new list, and we'll go YouTube. And if you're a futures trader like me, you can go ahead and pull up ES, you pull up NQ, and I'm pressing Option W. That's what I'm doing to make them a watch list item, or you can just copy and paste it. When you're coming into TradingView and using watch lists, you can be more prepared and know exactly where you want to be looking for the day. So another one that I'll be looking at is going to be YM. These are just the 3 indices that are highly correlated. Anytime you're looking up a futures product, I'm pressing a key on the keyboard, and then I'll go, let's just say we want to look up crude, CL, and then we just click down to the crude light futures or crude oil futures. There you go. And then you can see this is a good chart for oil. So I can add this one. And what you could do is you can divide these into sections where it says, index, right? And then you could go commodities down here. Gold would be another good one to add to your watch list. The whole goal is you just want to keep adding things that are going to benefit your analysis. So you can look at crude, you can look at gold, you can also look at some of the correlated assets for these. You could be maybe looking at silver and go ahead and compare that and see how that's relative to gold. So you go ahead and add this to the watch list. And there's just a ton of different options you have when you're trading in the futures market. I'm going to keep the levels and the watch list pretty simple. We'll also add VIX, volatility index, and we're going to put this in a different section called internals, right? And you can get real creative with what you look at on TradingView. You get real creative. You can look at put to call ratios for equities, and you can start to see if something's more bullish or bearish. And how you determine what these things actually mean is going to be based on your own ability to go in and study what these types of internals might mean. You literally can just go look up on Google or Chat GPT, have it explain to you what a put to call ratio might do. And from there, you can determine if this is something that's going to benefit your trading in the long run or not. In here, also, I would like to include some market leading stocks. So we'll call these the big board stocks. These are things that are going to dictate market movements. So you'll look at something like Apple. Go ahead, get back on our charts. Again, I have my candlestick right here, but by using this drop-down menu, I'm able to change to all these different types of charts, right? If you're not familiar with any of these, you should probably go ahead and study all of these. These are, to varying degrees, some of them can be beneficial. Renko charts have their place, Heikin-Ashi have their place. All these different volume type charts from, market profile. Point and figure, that's a very OG chart, very cool, very Jesse Livermore style, as well as Wyckoff. But hollow candles, bars as well, you can change it up. You can make it real creative for yourself. I like to keep it simple unless I'm looking at like some sort of long-term thing. Maybe I'll use a line chart. But looking at the candlesticks, we can see that Apple would be a good one to have in our big board because this is a big market leading stock. We can add Microsoft in there as well and see what that looks like in comparison. And then from there, we can also add in Amazon, and you'll see that Amazon is another big name stock in the market. The way you could determine if a stock is valid in terms of should this be in your big board is based on this little drop-down menu. You go ahead and drag this up, and inside of here, you can see that if you look at the market capitalization under the key stats, you'll see this is $1 trillion company, almost $2 trillion company. So that would fit the mold or the frame for if this is worth having in your big board stocks. If you're unaware of that, you can also go into your stock screener. And then from here, you can go ahead and look up how this is going to play out in terms of if you're unsure if a stock is worth having in your watch list, you can also look up filters and basically determine if it's a big enough stock. You could go ahead and go by size. So in here, in this scanner, there's a ton of different functionality options. You can do whatever you want, but we can also just look at, let's just see, how should we do this? Go overview, right? We can look at the overview, and then we can also see where is it going to tell us the market cap. And if it doesn't tell us market cap, we'll have to go ahead and add this in. Let's see, market capitalization. Okay, we do have market cap. It's right here. So you can look up by market cap and you can filter for the biggest ones. And then you can see all of these names right here. So your Apple, your Microsoft, your NVIDIA, your Google, your Amazon, your Meta, those are going to be your big ones. You have Broadcom right there as well. But with these right here, those are your big board stocks. So if these things are having breaking news catalysts, you can determine that might influence your trading ability for the day on the index. So stock screener is super handy. I would definitely recommend using this feature as well. It combines a couple different tools that traders will often use. If you're looking for breaking news type trades, you can filter it for that, change your parameters, look at gaps, so forth. And with that being said, you can also go ahead and create varying watch lists. You could look up different things. You could look up how Bitcoin's performing. You can also create alerts on these. So what you do to create an alert would be option A, and then you can put in whatever price you want. That would be a pretty easy way to do it. You can also click this little plus button and you can add an alert. You can also add an alert by pressing option A. So that would be your other way of doing that. With all of your analysis tools, there's going to be some shortcuts for these. So right here, you can see it's going to be that button plus T. I'm on a Mac. So what I do is just the option T, and then that gives me a trend line. If I press shift, it straightens it to 45 degrees. So you can see I'm able to make that nice and neat. If I do Option J, it gives me a horizontal ray, which is automatically going to extend to the right. I can also go ahead and set the magnet, which I use a weak magnet. I think that's the most effective way. And I also use hotkeys on my mouse. So I can click Option J with just one hand. Do it like this. See, just made like 4 of them. So that's a good tool to have in your, obviously in your tool belt. You have a bunch of different analysis tools. So a lot of these are going to be maybe something you might not use, but if you do find it useful, add a little star to it. And then from there, you get this little menu that you could pop up by pressing that star. So it'll be right here. These are your favorites. And then I can have all of these at the click of a mouse. So this is super efficient if you are someone who needs to do chart write-ups or playbooks or anything of that sort. This is something that will make it really easy for you. You can also do drop downs by double clicking. This goes away. If I go ahead and say I don't want this anymore, I could delete it. If I want to compare it to a different asset, I can also do that as well. Maybe I want to compare Bitcoin to Ethereum. I can add this to a new pane. I can add it to the same scale, but let's see what it looks like when you add it to a new pane. You can see that it's another chart. You could change the chart setting as well. There's a million different things you could do on here. I'm just trying to show you that this is a pretty functional platform. You could even just do Ethereum over Bitcoin, right? If you want to create your own pair and see how that's trading. So Ethereum versus Bitcoin, there you go. That's what you get, right? So going back to where we focus on the index, some of the things that you'll want to do is obviously you could be looking at multiple timeframes. You can also have indicators that show you different time frame levels. So you could do prior day high, prior day low, and you'll see that there's going to be prior day levels. There's a lot of different people who make these free, paid, whatever. You could find a bunch. You could look at all of these different options and find something that will benefit you. And it's ultimately a really useful platform when you have the ability to set alerts. You also have the ability to look at, different screens. You could pull up heat maps and you can see that stocks are either doing good or bad on the day. So you get all these different tools in here, and it's just how do you want to use these? Your economic calendars are also in here. So this is what I mean when I say there's that discount. Take advantage of this, get whatever you need. I have like the premium. I don't have the crazy premium. I have like maybe the second highest, but you don't need the highest one. I don't even know what they have in there. I just know they have a lot of functionality in this package right here. So you go through here, you can see all these different economic events, but it's just like a web browser. You can just add multiple tabs up here. I have these, on multiple monitors. Go ahead and scroll through here. You can see there's even community section. You have markets you can look at, so you can see different types of news or different types of overviews of charts. And right here, you can see that these are all going to be the indices right here, the main US stocks, community trends. So what's hot on the internet or whatever. These are all different watch lists and, hot movers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of research ability in here. It's essentially going to be your retail trader's version of a terminal, a Bloomberg terminal. So use that as you will. And hopefully you learned something in this video. Went over a little bit of how to adjust settings on these charts, showed some indicators, showed you how to save them. And ultimately, what you're going to want to do is just create your own little layout. So go ahead and save that as layout, right? Any sort of indicator layouts, you can go ahead and save that indicator template as your layout. So that way, anytime you create a new grid, you'll be able to reference these and just pull these out. So I can pull out any sort of indicator levels that I have, and hopefully you learned something in this video. Until next time, if you enjoy this type of content, leave a like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk soon.